Hello, gorgeous people. How are you doing? Today, I'm going to tell a few stories. I'm going to tell a few stories about enlightenment and about criticism and other stuff. So I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So I suppose we all want to be enlightened, don't we? I mean, kind of enlightenment, as it used to be called, is now ascension, isn't it? Everybody wants to ascend. No wonder. I mean, before everybody wanted to ascend off this planet anywhere else. That was the idea. That was the passion for ascension. Like, get me the flock out of here. I said flock because I'm not allowed to swear too early on in the video. Yeah? So get me the flock out of here. We say to Jesus, yeah? However, enlightenment is still enlightenment. It's still the same thing. This is the awakening, yes? Being awakened to things. And that isn't a one-time event. It's a process. But I'll tell you this story of the disciples that go to the guru and they say to him, when will we have enlightenment? When will enlightenment come upon us? And the guru says to them, well, when you see, when you finally can see. And they said, see what? See what? And he said, you know, the flowers, the trees, the moon, the stars. And they said, but we see them every day. And the guru said, no, you don't. What you do is you see paper flowers and paper trees and the paper moon and paper stars. And then to add insult to injury, he added, and you live a paper life. And alas, because you live a paper life, you will die a paper death. The gurus were never known to be nice. You know, they're straight, but nice, I wouldn't say that. And so what's that about? You know, I read that a long time ago, and I was thinking, what does it mean to live a paper life and to die a paper death? And I think that's what we've been sold. That's what the cult of society wants us to do, to live this paper life. It's a facade, isn't it? It's not real. There's no depth to a paper life. And there's no depth to a paper death. And I think as we, you know, they say that we're in 3D. But really, I think that we're in pretty much 2D in terms of the profundity of life. In terms of the depth that people live. The kind of, you know, we see most of our life is on a screen now, isn't it? Like 2D. It really isn't 3D, even though that's where we're supposed to live. And so our idea, our ascension, our enlightenment is to move and at least start seeing life in 3D. You know, it's an interesting thing to think about. That if we live a paper life, and many people do, that's 2D, that's just a drawing. Yeah, no depth. What will life be like if everything that we see is 3D, when we really see the depth? And what is that? That's going into the countryside and looking and not seeing the names of things, but actually seeing what they are. This is the message that I see from all of these gurus. They always say you got to see what it is. Like the disciple that says to the guru, but you're keeping things from me. You're keeping secrets from me. You're stopping me from becoming enlightened because you're not telling me stuff. And the very next day, the guru was walking through the countryside with the same student, and he said to him, "Did you hear the bird singing in that tree?" And the student said, "I did." And he said, "So you see, I'm not hiding anything from you." And in that moment, the student became enlightened. Again, I didn't understand that. What are you talking about? It's hearing not the song of a bird. It's hearing exactly what it is. They say that when children have that enlightenment until they're given a name, as I think Anthony de Mello himself says it, when a child is told that a tree is called a tree, he stops seeing. He stops seeing it, and he sees the name. This is the paper tree. And so how many things do we not see because we know what that is? And we've seen it all of our life. It's called normalizing. And I think the idea, and this is one of the ideas about being in the present moment, living in the now, is that we take everything as new. We see everything through new eyes. That's really hard to do. But that's what enlightenment is. It's not allowing your mind to normalize things. And how do we do that? Well, that's through constant questioning. And so, we as people who are what you would class awakened and the ones who question everything, this is a really good place to be. The idea of questioning everything keeps you in the now. It stops you from normalizing. It stops you from thinking, yeah, well, it's just the way that it is. It's not. Nor does it need to be. So I've got another story about enlightenment. So the student says to their guru, what can I do to become enlightened? And the guru says, as little as you can do to make the sun rise. And the student says, exasperated as always, so why do you give us all of these spiritual exercises? And the guru says, so that you're not asleep when the sun rises. And it's the same thing. The process that we are going through is an automatic process. It's going to happen. But much better that we're present when it does. Much better that we're there. Yeah? Embodied in watching. And then there's a story about finding peace. And again, my work with people in therapy is all about that. Is helping them to find peace. And so the disciple asks the prophet, how can I find peace? How can I find peace? And the prophet says, to find peace, all you need to do is seek to change yourself. Change yourself. Change your expectations. Change your perceptions. And he went on to say, it's much easier to pop on a pair of slippers than it is to carpet the entire world. When we're young, that's what we want to do. Let's carpet the world. Let's change everybody. When in fact, all we need to do is to put on a nice pair of slippers. Everything's better then. And I'll tell you another story about rumours. And I've never resonated with gossip. I never really liked gossip. I think maybe there were a couple of times in my life where I went into that and it was ooh, but I don't really like it. I've never liked the idea of talking about other people in a negative way and getting that. I used to watch how people got excited about that. It made them feel, ooh, give me some dirty news about somebody else so I can feel a little bit better about myself. And so this made me laugh, this story. So the guru is there and a disciple comes up and he says, I've got to tell you something about the other guru in the other village. It's a rumour. So the guru says, look, I'm going to ask you some questions. Before you tell me, let me ask you some questions. This thing that you're going to tell me, is it true? And the student says, well, it's a rumour. I don't know if it's true. Okay. Then tell me, is it useful? And he said, not really, no. Okay. Well, last question, is it funny? And the student said, no, it's not funny. And the guru says, well, I'd probably best that you keep it to yourself then. Yeah. And I think that's a nice little 3-question list to find out before somebody tells you. During a period I wanted to do hypnobirthing. I wanted to start a practice of hypnobirthing. It didn't work out, and I understand why, because that wasn't really my thing. Although I've done various hypnobirthing, I've helped various people, including my wife, twice, and it's brilliant. Hypnobirthing. If you're pregnant or you're thinking about getting pregnant and having a baby, definitely go down the hypnobirthing route. But what I discovered was that in hypnobirthing, what you want is you want your the person you're helping to only hear positive things about birthing, and that is so difficult. There's something that women have this desire to do, and men, but primarily women because they're the ones who go through it, is that when they talk to somebody who's pregnant, they want to tell them about the very worst part of their experience. They want to give them a horror story. And with all of my clients who were pregnant, I would say to them, when somebody comes up to you and they say, hey, I'll tell you what happened to me, you've got to say, can I just stop you there for a moment? Let me just ask you, after I've heard this story, will I feel better or will I feel worse? And if they say you'll feel worse, then you say, I would rather you didn't tell me. And I used to really, really go on a lot about that. Why? Because something can't be unheard. And there are some horror stories as well. Of course there are. But they didn't need to hear them. Yeah, and it's like this, is it true? Is it useful? Is it funny? Keep it to yourself then. Because gossip is rarely any of those. Yeah? And I'll leave you the last story, attaining God. Reaching God. So the student says to the guru, tell me, guru, how can I find God? How can I attain God? And so the guru says, well, to attain God, you've got to do two things. The student said, tell me what they are. Tell me what they are. I said, well, the first thing is that you must understand that all efforts to attain God are futile. It's never going to happen through your effort. And the student said, and the second? And the guru said, the second is you must act as if you don't know the first thing. And that's kind of in line with why the spiritual exercises. Well, just to keep yourself awake while it happens automatically. We can't force enlightenment. We can't force ascension. We can't force anything because it's a natural process. But what we can do in the meantime is to keep ourselves awake. Now, the Catholics do it in the Opus Dei by lashing themselves with chains, or by putting on a thing on the thigh with spikes. Now, that's one way of keeping yourself awake. However, the wakened state in which you find yourself is not a good one. You're not closer to God, you're closer to hell, I think. Some people take amphetamine and stay awake that way. But again, that's altered state. We just want to stay awake through our activities, stay awake through the way that we think, the way that we behave, the actions that we take, and trust that the enlightenment happens anyway. Just stay awake. I love you all. I hope that's been of value, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.